Hey y'all, welcome to the Healing Space Live and Online Chats with Roxanne and Rhonda, the podcast where guests will share information and research on self-love, living a wellness-filled life, how to heal from traumatic events, and more. This podcast is sponsored by Healing Hearts and Minds Publishing, LLC, a new company that publishes books that promote self-love, healthy relationships, avoidance of unhealthy relationships, and much, much more. Check out their first publication, Unhealthy Relationships, Let's Stop the Madness, a guide for those in unhealthy relationships and for those who want to help them. Written by first-time author and co-host of the Healing Space Live and Online, Roxanne Elizabeth Epperson. Visit Amazon.com to purchase the paperback or ebook. Enjoy the show. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of the Healing Space Live and Online Chats with Roxanne and Rhonda. Today we're going to talk with a life coach, Scherrita Thomas, about purpose. What is your purpose in life? So we just want to welcome you, Scherrita, and normally Rhonda might have a little something to say before we go into our questioning. And do you, Miss Rhonda?
Always. I just want to say, Scherrita, we're very excited to have you. We love your topic. We love the work that you're doing because it really ties into the purpose of our podcast, which is always talking about self-care, self-esteem. It's always to be encouraging, and your message today is really going to be encouraging for our listeners. So as always, we welcome any new listeners, and we always say a shout out to those who follow us regularly. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry. I forgot to say that if this is your first time listening, we truly appreciate you, and please do come back. And with that, I will begin the questioning to Miss Scherrita. And the first question is, first of all, I love the name of your business, Destined To Be. I just love it, you know.
Thank you. And thank you both for having me. Thank you so much.
We really, really appreciate you. So one of the things Scherrita wants people to do is to find their purpose. And my question to you is, how does one do that? Because I've heard people say they don't know what their purpose is. And I'm naive because I just assumed everybody knew what their purpose was, even if they might, because I've known mine for so many years. I just assumed people knew. And I'm realizing now it's not that simple. So if you can tell us, how does one find their purpose?
Yes. Well, as a certified life coach, one of the things that I work with, what we focus on basically is just so it's not only that someone may know their purpose, however, they may not be active in their purpose or moving, being active. So like for myself, as an example, in the busyness of life, especially when you're a mother and you have other roles, it's easy to put certain things or certain gifts that you may have inside to the side and not really be active in them. So basically it's like finding out what are some of the things that you like to do? What are some of the things that giftings that God has put in you, in us as an individual, and actually really looking at it and developing a plan to, because even with life coaching in general, it's like you have to identify certain things that you want to work on or what you want to do, and then coming up with a plan to implement those goals, and then as a life coach, my job is to hold people accountable in a loving way. So a lot of times, we can have people around us that we may consider to be a support or something like that. But a lot of times they may not want to tell us certain things, for whatever reason. And sometimes we got to look at, it may be a crutch, that relationship, you know what I mean? It may be a barrier to us excelling to where we want to be at. So just coming up with a way to evaluate and to measure, setting up SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, and realistic, and timeable, like measurable, that we can measure them. And that's my job, is to, like I said, just kind of give that push to say, and what are, and even with evaluating, looking at those things that are holding us back. I mean, sometimes we like to think like we got it all together, but self-improvement is a daily process. So, just being real about that. So some of the things that I do.
I neglected to even have you tell us what Destined to Be is or does. And after you do that, then I'll go into my next question. Even though you just certified life coach is one thing you do, but break it down for us.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. So yes, Destined to Be LLC is an inspirational company, and it's all about finding purpose, all about assisting individuals in finding their purpose. And we have inspirational clothing, and we have, I do the certified life coaching courses that are available in person and both in virtual, and also certified in mindful thinking. So it's like, that's that intentional component of, we got to be mindful of the things that we do and what, the barriers and all of that. And I also, in the near future, I'm working on the supportive housing piece. So I was a caseworker for CYF for 2 years. And so I know that there's a need for housing, for supportive housing, for different homes. And I know there's actually something in Pittsburgh that is actually an awesome program already. So I actually want to do that as well with Destined to Be. But to serve at-risk youth that are at risk for homelessness or currently homeless, just to provide life skills and the life coaching skills and self-development, and just in return helping individuals to do better. If we know better, we'll do better. So that's pretty much what Destined to Be does.
Perfect. You kind of alluded to the one thing, but which was my next question. I was going to ask you to define mindful thinking. If you can break that down for us a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So mindful thinking is basically being intentional on what we focus on. So certain things, like I keep, going back to like the barriers, certain things, there may be something that's holding us back that we may not even be mindful or aware of. So it's like getting down to the surface. Now, I'm no therapist by any means. However, we still do have to look at what were those barriers? It could be a circumstance, it could be that environment. Like I said, it can be people. And realizing that, this person, what are the benefits of this? Is it helping me, or is it hindering? Or is it a hindrance? Sometimes we don't like to take that honest look at ourselves. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's one of the key things in being mindful. Just being aware of what has caused us to be so like held back in certain areas, and what has helped us, because it's not all negative. We're definitely looking at the strengths, the positive. It's all about positive, doing this in a loving way. We're not here to beat anybody up, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's all growth. Like I said, we all have to grow. So
I appreciate that. And you mentioned talking about, God is a God-given, what God has given us. And I truly believe it didn't take a real long time, but when I kept trying to quit doing women against abusive relationships, I tried to stop doing this maybe 3 or 4 times over the last 20 something years, and it won't go anywhere because God put that in me. Unfortunately, I had to go through an abusive relationship that almost ended my life for it to happen. But that's what people do. They take their pain and they turn it into a purpose of helping people. And that's what I've been doing for the past 21 years. I didn't even realize it was 21 years until on LinkedIn, I started getting the congratulations on your anniversary. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been 21 years and 21 years. And we're getting ready to take it to a new level, Rhonda and I. So yes, thank you so much. So I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda now. She has a couple questions for you.
Well, I got to start with saying now war is grown. 21?
We're legal, huh?
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is. Scherrita, your comments are really on point. Thank you so much, because I don't want to be repetitious. I do have a couple of things I want to ask about, because you touched my heart in a couple of different ways. especially when you say providing life skills to youth who are homeless or on the verge of being homeless, because I have dedicated my life's work to helping people and working with youth. As Roxanne just said, war won't go away. Somewhere in my life, no matter what else I'm doing, I'm working with youth. So that's real
Mm-hmm.
important to me. So I'm going to lead into this question and ask you, how do you help young adults who often feel hopeless about the future? How do you help them with encouraging words and messages to develop or find what their purpose is? I remember years ago, a young man, a young boy. Let's call it what it is. He was 8 years old, 8 or 9 years old. He was a boy, and even though he was a boy in age, he clearly said to me, "This is when I was working with children in elementary schools," and he clearly said to me, "Why do I have to care? I'm not going to live to be 16 anyhow." And I know there's still a lot of youth who just live day to day. They're not thinking about a purpose. They're not thinking about wanting to do something. And unfortunately, even for me, Pittsburgh is so small. I want to say this delicately because you never know who's connected to whom. But there was a murder not too long ago. I'll just say it like that. And the young man was in his early 30s and was just getting ready to turn his life around. And there's so often I have heard when I hear about young men who are murdered, they were just getting ready to turn their life around, and that hurt. So my question then is, what do you say to young people who may feel hopeless about the future? How do you encourage them in their purpose?
Yeah, you know what, that is very tragic. And yeah, so I understand what you're saying, and I definitely pray for the youth and this the community in general. Basically, Destined to Be, we teach personal growth and self-discovery. As you mentioned, someone may not be aware of their purpose, not even thinking about it. But that's where that self-discovery piece comes into it. And it's designed to help you personally identify different skills that we have, and learning that some of the behavior that we have may be a learned behavior. So again, being mindful of where our where our current beliefs come from, because that's what it is, a current belief. Another thing with Destined to Be is all about mindset and changing that mindset. Sometimes we have mindsets that aren't healthy, and it's not it's not a fault of our own. It may have been something that has been passed that we've seen generationally. And I'm not knocking anybody, but however, again, we have to do better. We have to know better. So again, that self-discovery piece of it, being intentional about our behavior, knowing that what we do now has a consequence. Sometimes there's so many people that I hear of that have criminal records and I know personally in my family and whatnot, that had personal records from when they were younger and things that they did when they were youth. And it's a barrier as an adult, so knowing that, our consequences, it does matter, you know what I mean? But yeah, I understand it's hard when we have a generation with death all around us. Unfortunately, it's hard for, youth to see that light. So, I'm very realistic. I try to be transparent. I try to, God's working on me daily as well. So I try to share different testimonials, like you shared, Roxanne, about, that being a part of your testimony. It made you stronger. So, I'm definitely, and anyone who, is here, any youth that's here, I tell them, you're here for a reason. You have a purpose. There are people who, I'm a victim of, I'm a survivor of a bullet, of like a home invasion. So like, I'm here for a purpose, you know what I mean? So it's like, and we got to be mindful of that, because there's so many people who they're just continuing, like I said, to be sucked in by that negative environment. So, I'm all about just uplifting and again, helping people to know that you got a purpose. So let's do it. And we're not promised tomorrow. That's the key thing. Like, none of us is promised tomorrow. It's by God's grace. You know what I mean? So.
Wow. Thank you. That was very powerful. Just something funny I have to share. I don't know if it's actually funny. It's funny to me though. But I'm so glad that I have come around to accepting what mindfulness is, what it really is. Because the first time I was trained in or taught about mindfulness, it was like the early to mid 90s. And I was one of two people of color in the training, an African American male and myself. Everybody else in the training was white, as were the trainers, as was the founders of or creators of the theory that they was training, which was connected to mindfulness. So they had us look at this glass of water sitting in front of us and told us just to concentrate on the glass of water. And I thought, oh, this mindful stuff, this ain't for black people, because we got too much going on in life. We can't think about one thing. I got to think about what I'm having for dinner. What time I got to pick my child up from daycare? Oh, God, is daycare? Is the day to day I pay the daycare? Do I have enough money in the bank? And it was for me, like mindfulness, the way it was originally introduced to me. I thought there's no way I can think about one thing just at one time. And I tell you, Scherrita, I have come full circle, and you are right. Being intentional to be mindful. And I had another training about probably somewhere during COVID and quarantine, early parts. I guess that was around March or April last year, 2020. And that particular therapist talked about take 10 minutes, just 10 minutes a day to be mindful. And you know what? That helps. I can't say I do it every day, but there's times I believe in starting your day over. I don't care if it's 3:30. If my day has been messed up, this went wrong and I caught too many red lights and now I'm late or just whatever. It's 3:30. I just kind of take some deep breaths. I think about nothing for a while. I mean, I've learned to do that. I think about nothing and I'm just mindful about moving forward. So that was a very powerful statement you gave, and it brought that back to mind for me. So thank you so much. So let me ask you, how did you describe your purpose right now as related to the work, to the awesome work that you're doing?
Well, I just, like I said, it's a blessing, and I'm grateful to what God has given me, like that He's given me this desire, and I believe my purpose is just to encourage others. Like I said, I believe I'm here for a reason. We all have a purpose. So like I said, if I could be a tool or, be used, I'm just gracious to have the opportunity. You mentioning about the breathing and being, the breathing exercises, that is very important. Definitely. So I'm glad you brought that up. Sometimes when we think about breathing, I'm like, because when I first, as I began my training, I'm like, breathing I never really looked at it for the benefit that it is. It really can bring you back. It can center yourself. So yeah, it's very important to do that. One of the ones that I like is taking 2 deep breaths in through your nose and then releasing it. So in doing that, doing that about 10 times, and for a cycle of 10 times, and it really does help. It calms you down. Sometimes we don't realize that we have anxiety, and so we have to be mindful of what things could trigger, what can make us nervous and things like that. So, that's another thing about being mindful. And so, yeah, like I said, I just feel like that's my purpose. That's why I'm here. So
Tell me that breathing again. Inhale, say it again. 2 times.
You take 2 deep breaths through your nose, and then hold it and then release. Then exhale out through your mouth. And then do that for 10 cycles. And it can just calm you. It can just bring you back to center. So I'm glad that Rhonda brought up the breathing techniques. And there's several of them. There are.
Well, I need to start doing that every morning.
Exactly. And I love what you said about restarting your day. As a life coach, I still, I need encouragement myself. So I listen to other life coaches and things. And one thing that I heard someone say recently is, there's no such thing as a bad day. It's actually when we have that mentality that it's something, we're having a bad day, it's a mental thing, right? So we're letting one thing that may have been a bad circumstance, a bad situation, and we're letting that determine our whole day around that. So I was like, wow, that was really mind blowing. So it's like, yeah, we have control over that. And anytime we do that, we're giving control to that circumstance, to that thing, to that person. So it's like now we're also taking back control, which is very empowering. So, finding our purpose and staying center and focused, it's like, yeah, we're taking our power back, and it's about time that we've done that. So
yeah,
that's another thing that I teach in the session. So
okay, yeah, I noticed you said earlier, and one of your first comments was about mindset, and you're right, because we can't move forward until we think for it. So I totally like that. So I want to go back to you and Roxanne both mentioned that knowing that gifting, that we are gifted with certain things from birth on, and knowing that everybody doesn't recognize it the same way. So I definitely, can say, yes, I believe in God. I believe God gave me my gifting. I can also now have been able to look back and see how I was trained. mm, what I mean by that, literally back-eyed. It's weird. Let me just share this. Roxanne knows this story, but when I was a little girl, like 6, 7, 8 years old, in my family home, we had a mirror that stood cat corner in the dining room. And I used to sit in front of the mirror and just talk. Now, my mother would come through. My mother was very big on not thinking you're too cute. That just was not her. Even if I said to her, like, even at 8 years, Mommy, do I look cute in this dress? She's like, oh, child, go do something else. Just wasn't allowed to think you were cute. So my mother would come by and see me talking in this mirror, and she would tell me, get out the mirror, thinking you're cute. That's just get it out the mirror. But what I learned, I didn't know at 7, 8 years old, but I do public speaking for a living now, or part of what I do is public speaking. I was being trained back then. My gift was given to me for public speaking then, and that was my audience in my mirror. I really wasn't, God bless you, Mommy, up in heaven. I really wasn't looking at me. I was looking through the mirror, and I always saw an audience. I didn't know how to explain that at 6, 7, and 8 years old. I've been able as an adult to look back at that. So Scherrita, bear that in mind, because you said a lot of powerful things. I know I used the word powerful already, but that's how I'm feeling your presence and your energy right now. Because you also said knowing that there's some things such as families who may have had some criminal history with them. There may have been some things there in life that has sort of interrupted a person on their journey. So that's my next question is just around that. How do you help someone on their journey and through their growth, and believing that people are born with their purpose? How do you think it gets massaged or developed throughout their growth, and knowing there are interruptions?
Well, you know what? Forgiveness is a big piece. A lot of times, that's the key thing. We're holding on to hurt. It's like the old saying that I've heard before: hurt people. So, a lot of times when we don't forgive, we're holding ourselves. We think we're hindering that person, but a lot of times that person's going on about their lives. They may not even be thinking about it, and yet we are hurting ourselves, like slowly really killing ourselves inside, because as a result, it causes stress and whatnot. So we don't really realize how much stress can affect us physically. It can really deteriorate our health. So, just being mindful and all of that, and looking at it, like I said, no therapist. And sometimes you may need therapy. Therapy may be the answer for, not just the sole answer, but it may be a piece of the healing process, because it's all about healing. So just overcoming it and coming up with a plan to not allow that barrier to hold you, or whatever that hindrance is, whatever that, it may be a family issue, it may be, a lot of times it's just taking accountability in our part as well. So, and that is situational. So like sometimes there's no, it's not our fault. There's certain things in our lives that happen that we have no control over. So it's like, forgiveness in that area. It's not my fault. It wasn't my fault. And forgiving yourself. That's the key thing too. That's why I say forgiveness is a big piece, because it's not only sometimes forgiving someone else, it can be forgiving ourselves, it wasn't my fault, and I love what you mentioned about the daily affirmations. That is important. And that's awesome that you were blessed to have that knowledge to do that then, and you didn't even realize you were doing it. But it's important because, again, with being mindful and all of that, we are our first, the receptor to tell us what we are thinking. So like a lot of times, like if someone says something to us and we take that on, then you start to believe, like, we got to watch our words. We can't say like, I'm stupid. Oh, that was so stupid of me. You know what I mean? Be careful, be mindful of what you say. You're not stupid. You just made a mistake. It happens, you know what I mean? But to know that, it's okay. You know what I mean? I'm still more than a conqueror. I'm still great. I'm still amazing, and not in a conceited way. I always have to say that as well. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like you get this big head about yourself. No, but it's just the confidence in knowing who you are. You know, I am special. I do deserve to be treated kindly. I do deserve, and it goes saying it's both ways. I deserve to treat others kindly as well. You know what I mean? So I think it's just but again, if you grew up in that household where maybe you were called bees or you were called stupid, you know, sometimes unfortunately hurt comes from those that we love. And you know what I mean? And sometimes they think that that's a love, that's how you love people. Again, that's breaking those generational curses, breaking those strongholds. You know what I mean? No, we're not going to go around calling people bees. No, I'm not, and doing better. We got to do better. You know, again, breaking those cycles, those unhealthy relationships, those unhealthy habits. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, what we do behind closed doors, you know what I mean? Really being accountable, not just saying it, but really walking the walk. You know what I mean?
I wanted to add to that. She was about the power of words. I mean, they are so powerful. And two that come to mind, and one is selfish. And I used to think that was a bad word, that we shouldn't be selfish. But yes, we should be selfish. The root word in there is self. Okay. So we got to take care of self first, right? Before you can take care of anybody else. And the other part is we talk about if you call yourself stupid. So I've heard Les Brown and Iyanla both talking about this with the word I am. And I swear I'm going to create. I am going to create that post for IG about I am, because it's just so powerful. And they're both, you can't say something like I am not going to finish this course. I just know I'm not going to do it. No, I am going to finish this course. I don't care how stressful it is. I just finished my degree. Well, not just 2019. Boy, I tell you, I wish I had learned all of these powerful words before that, even though it was kind of like ingrained in me anyway, because I did finish, even though I can't tell you how many times I tried to quit. Again, with war, with women, I'm always trying to quit something, but God just won't let me. Thank you, Lord. I'm so glad He won't let me.
Yes.
So yeah, there is power in words, y'all. I am. It's like the Les was saying, don't be talking about I am broke. No, I'm just waiting for that money to be deposited to my account.
That's right.
That's not how he said it, but that's what he said, and that's where I'm at now. I am wealthy. I am wealthy beyond belief right now. There you go. Okay, Rhonda, I'm sorry. I just had to get that in.
Please, that's fantastic. So, but speaking of money, it made me think of something about being wealthy. When this is really off. It's on the subject, but I hadn't followed this until you were just speaking. In your business, Scherrita, do you take insurance, or is it cash?
It's cash only. Yes.
All right. Thanks.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, have you been seeing people virtually during the pandemic?
I have, yes. And, I know that finances are tight, so I definitely am willing to offer, services to certain individuals, for low or, little to no cost, based on individual circumstances. So, like I said, it's all about purpose. And I believe that, as we help others, God makes room for us. He opens up doors. So yes. And one other thing I like to say, I know I do reference God a lot because He is my everything, but I understand that everyone doesn't have the same beliefs. So I don't ever push myself, on anyone or my belief on anyone. Ultimately, again, it's just all about purpose. So yes.
And speaking of the money, I just wanted to reiterate too, I've been listening to a whole lot of motivational speakers lately, the multimillionaires, billionaires, and all of them are saying the same thing. And I'm like, wow, I'm on the right track. It's not about the money. It's about purpose. We are here to serve. And you just end up, you become a billionaire in doing so, then, okay, that's the blessing that you received because you were doing what God told you to do. And so I'm looking forward to my wealth, Lord.
Amen.
Because all I'm going to do, and I've been saying this since I was in my 20s, I want to be rich. I would say I want to be a millionaire so I can help people, so I can give money away. So, so now that I'm in these different coaching classes and groups or whatever, no, I don't want to be a millionaire. I need to be a billionaire. because it takes money to be able to serve and do what you want to do and to reach the masses. So you really need a lot of money to do what you want to do. So I just wanted to add that. So dream big, y'all. Right. I dream big. I don't play.
That's true. That is true.
So just a couple more statements or comments that I want to make. And one, I'm kind of known for closing with, I'm not saying this is the closing, but when I start winding down with a story or something I researched or something I read. And actually looking over your information and thinking about having you as a guest today, Scherrita, something I thought about and was reminded of was Martin Lawrence, the comedian actor, and something that I heard him say years ago. Years ago, he told, I heard him say a story about, I think he said third grade, but nowadays somebody's going to Google and say it was when he was in fourth grade. Okay. But he had a teacher in elementary school who, when he was being cut up in the class, because again, he's a comedian, it was in him, even that young age, it was in him. And he said this particular teacher, I believe it was a female woman teacher, but this teacher, he said, she would say to him, Martin, just give me 40 minutes in class. You pay attention 40 minutes, and you can have the last 5 minutes to come up in front of the class and do entertain or tell your jokes, do what you want to do. And he said that really made a difference in his life, because it was a teacher, who believed in him, and then he was able to maintain the class clown type behavior because he knew he had a stage on him, waiting on him later, and I'm paraphrasing some of it, but that's the message I took from what he said. The root of the story is that there was a teacher there who believed in him. So what would be your message to teachers in traditional schools who kids do, they have their gifting, whatever it is. What might you encourage if you were, just say for hypothetically, you were doing a trainer with a group of teachers? What is something you might tell them to encourage them to help massage, develop, and help young people, 7, 8, 6-year-olds live out their purpose, recognize it?
Mm-hmm. I would say that we just be mindful that of the impact that we have, that they have on in the lives that they're touching. Sometimes we don't realize, the impact that we may have on others, and always be mindful that other people are always looking at us. And so I look at it like, I have to be mindful of how I treat people because of how God handles me. And so, you know what I mean? So it all just comes back. So it's like, it's not light. Do not take it lightly. And you're in that position for a reason. And so make sure that you use it, be intentional to use it to the full potential that it has. Because you don't know how you're molding. You may be that only positive word or the only positive role model that person may see in their daily interactions and whatnot. So again, and thank you for what you do. I'd like to just say thank you. Like I said, it's commendable for what you do. So yes. And that's what I try to tell people as well, like the teens and whatnot that I come in contact with. And even mothers, we got to be mindful. I know as a mom, it's hard sometimes, you always got eyes looking at you, right? You know what I mean? But you got to be mindful of that. These babies didn't ask to be here. So you got to watch who we allow to have come around our kids and who they're around, because a lot of these babies are exposed to things at early ages, unfortunately. So that's what I mean about I'm bringing out realistic approach as well. I know that we don't live in a fairy tale world, you know what I mean? And even when I speak about God and the purpose he has in our life, it doesn't mean it's all perfect. I always say the enemy comes knocking on my door every day as well. I have to choose to respond daily different. You got to, choose to respond differently than how I did the last time. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, so I'm sorry, I know I kind of went off a little bit off of your question a little bit, but so yeah, it's important. And so yeah, we got to be mindful of what we do and who's watching us. There's always eyeballs watching us. And I want my reward. Not only, Roxanne, do I want my money here because I believe that God does, he's a rewarder, but I want my gift in heaven. You know what I mean? So we got to remember this isn't our end place. You know what I mean? So it's all about accountability, you know what I mean, in every area. So we got to step up.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna send you a link to the Les Brown speech I just listened to a few minutes earlier today, because it talks about a lot of the stuff we're talking about, and he's talking about how who you're around, you pick up those characteristics, you know, and you don't even know it's happening. It's unconsciously you're picking up all these negative vibes and negative attitudes, and next thing you know, you're being that type of person as well. So I think this would be a good piece for you to just enhance your learning, because like you said, you listen to all kinds of people as well. So I will definitely send that to you. I'm overwhelmed. There's just so much stuff on YouTube. It's just overwhelming. You just can't even absorb it all. It's just so much. But so yes, ma'am. So we're kind of winding down. Are we now, Miss Rhonda?
Yeah. Before I do a summary of what I took from Scherrita, do you want to talk about? And she was just finishing talking about intentionality, or did she kind of respond?
She mentioned it. I had decided not to even ask that question because she mentioned it so much throughout. Okay, being intentional, being mindful, and being intentional on what you're thinking and all of that. And that I totally agree. I've learned about mindfulness too, not within the last couple of years. So I agree. Yeah. So I'm mindful of. I'm on a mission. So I lost my job due to the pandemic, and I was like, it was a blessing for me. And a friend of mine told me that 25% of African-American women or African-Americans have started businesses during the pandemic. And I'm like, wow, I'm in the 25%. Hey, because I'm on a mission, and my mind is like, I'm there to the point where I've been told I need to slow down because I have so many products and services that I want to implement. And I know I can't do them all at one time. Can I just tell y'all what it is? I'm just writing them down, you know. And I got sense enough to know that I have to, focus on A and B. And I'm trying to do A and B instead of just A right now, because they kind of correlate together. So you'll be hearing about that. But I do want you to share with us how we can reach you before we.
Can I do a little summary before she does that?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. I did that before. I'll be messing up sometimes, and I do that kind of stuff.
We just had a conversation. It's not a mess up, but you really gave me a lot to really think about. And a couple of them just really stands out for me. I want to mention the fact, Scherrita, that forgiveness, the self-forgiveness is so important. Everything that you said today really can tie into that because, as you were saying, people who hurt people. But once you know better, you do better. So you're right. Once I can do some self-forgiveness for things, and I can do better. I really like that. And having an accountability partner is real important also. Holding somebody accountable. And you said in your life coaching, that is something that you really do. You help people be accountable. You can hold yourself accountable, and then there's others who can hold you accountable. I just got to say something to the listening audience that when you choose your accountability partner, you need to be real with yourself. First of all, you need to choose somebody. Wait a minute. Don't let me get all up in your business, as in this is your business, and I think I know what I'm saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm speaking about it from a personal experience that choosing an accountability partner has to be somebody that will really hold you accountable. Not your yes person, not your, well, it's okay, you're going to mess up. Yeah, but that's not holding me accountable. I know I'm going to mess up. I need you to tell me where I messed up, so that I can do it. And the other thing, though, for me is having somebody who I trust enough. In other words, and I trust and I love. So when this person says things that I hurt, because sometimes an accountability person can hurt your feelings because they're telling you where you messed up, but you didn't do right. So please try to count. And I'm gonna give it back to you, Scherrita, if you want to add to that. But hold somebody, choose someone to hold you accountable, who you love and trust, and you're not going to end up being angry at that person. You also talked about being realistic. And you also talked about the mindset. I think we already covered the mindset. And the person's current belief where they are is really going to impede or improve their their journey. And the last thing I want to say in closing, my last part is, you said every day the devil come knocking. Well, that's something to be glad at, because I was told if he ain't knocking, he already got you.
That's right. That's right.
So
That's
it's
a
just
good
going to
one.
have a wonderful way.
That's right. That's right.
Great.
So anything that I said around accountability that you want to clean up or add to, or
No, I mean, that's perfect. You pretty much summed it up. You're so right. We got to be real. So yes, you hit it right on the nose, the nail on the nose. So yes, thank you.
thank you.
I'm glad she added that last piece about somebody that you're not going to get mad at. Because, because I thought about that. I'm like, dang, they might say something, get your little attitude about it, but they're real. I mean, they're right,
Right.
But like you said, you love them so much. It's like, oh, well, I'm mad at them for about 2 minutes and then I just get over it,
Exactly. Yep. And someone you can trust, because you want to be, you're sharing confidential information sometimes. So you want to make sure that you can trust that individual and that your business is not everywhere. And that's causing anxiety in a whole nother area. So yes. So yeah, but you're right on what you said.
All right, thank you.
So is it, can we close now, Miss Rhonda? Because, okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. I just, so Scherrita, tell the people where they can reach you.
Okay, yes. So you can find Destined to Be LLC on Facebook, and please tune in for Minutes of Motivation. I do upload inspirational messages pretty often, as well as other inspirational quotes and whatnot. And the website, destinedtobe.com. So please, you can see some of the inspirational wear and other products. And you can also see a list of services that Destined to Be currently provides, as well as upcoming things coming up. So yes. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be on the podcast. Thank you so much. And congratulations, ladies, for all that you are doing. And thank you for working in your purpose.
Thank you. This was great. And before we close, I'll tell you how you can reach us. But I just wanted to say congratulations to Rhonda, because she I'm retired, but poor thing, she still has to work, but it's all good. And I might be going back to work too. So, it is what it is. But she just got a promotion. She works at the Women's Center Shelter of Greater Pittsburgh. And her new title is, she is now the Chief of Prevention, Intervention, and Outreach. And I'm saying it like that because it's such a mouthful. And I'm so proud that I was able to say it without messing it up. And I got it correct,
that is
right?
Excellent.
Yeah. So,
Congratulations.
She deserves that. Scherrita, I tell everybody. So this podcast was my brainstorm and my baby. It is. But I wanted my girl with me because she is so skilled on the topic that on domestic violence and stuff like that. So again, now she makes me look so good. I just love it. So on that note, I just wanted to share with everybody how you can reach us. You can reach us at Warhills Podcast _. That's our IG handle, and Facebook. You can find us on Facebook under that as well. And our website is Warhills, WARHEALS.org. And I'd like for you to just keep an eye out. We're getting ready to start building our community of warriors. Okay. And warriors is spelled with the capital WAAR and the small IORS, warriors, Healing Space Warriors. So you will actually see that on our Facebook page. So if you want to start signing up, so we can start building this community because of like-minded people trying to help each other out, be supportive of each other throughout their healing process. And that's my mission in life. And everybody knows my mission is to help a minimum. I used to say 1 million, but now I'm changing it to a minimum of 1 million women globally heal after being traumatized through domestic violence and sexual abuse. So we thank you so much. And
that's excellent.
Forward to doing some more things with you because we are.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.
Yep, and don't leave just yet because we need to let Rhonda and I need to let the world know that we got your back. Now, if we were in the same room, it would look so much cuter because we would have
But we're working on it. One day we're going to have a real studio, y'all. Thank you, guys. Thank you thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Look forward to talking to you soon.
There are 2 things we would like you to do. Number 1, enter our monthly drawing by sending your email address to info@warheals.org. Spelled out, that is info@WARHEALS.org. Put drawing in the subject line. We will notify the winner or winners via email by midnight on the last Thursday of each month. Our second request, engage with us on IG. Follow, like, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms at @warheals_ on IG, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. WAARHEALS_ on IG, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. As always, we thank you for listening and see you next week.